So was law school sort of a rude awakening to the real world for you?
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I went to a French school, right, where I didn't get a traditional American education. I got a traditional French education, which is different, to say the least. Like, I remember in college, this is sort of funny. So in my school, you were in the same classroom for everything. You didn't go to different classrooms. And I remember whenever the professor would walk in, you would stand up and stand next to your desk. You might have experienced something similar in Albania.
I did. I'm thinking that's exactly what I did.
And so I remember the first class in college, I went to UCLA, big public school. This is not like, anything like this, 20-person class that I'd grown up in. And I'm in this like classroom and the professor walks in and I stand up. And everyone's looking at me like, who the hell is this weirdo standing? Why is he standing next to his desk? And I'm like, oh, I guess this is different. And it didn't even occur to me. But so in some ways I had a rude awakening in college. But I think for the sort of the trashing of the ideals that my dad was, an activist. He was an environmentalist. He had marched against Monsanto with Cesar Chavez and helped farm workers. I grew up in Topanga Canyon, which is like a hippie commune culture in Los Angeles, outside of Los Angeles, right? Mm-hmm. So I had grown up in a very liberal, very idealistic sort of environment. And then I got to Georgetown, and it's a factory for defense lawyers, right? And they have a process. And don't get me wrong, I got a great education, great school, but they have a system, and they break you down the first year. They make you feel like, yeah, you're not as smart or as capable or as great as you thought you were. And then the second year, they work you so hard that you forget what you're doing and convince you that the only thing that's worthy of this prestigious education that you're getting is to go work for, Williams and Conway or, some fancy defense firm. And then they drill it into you, and then you interview, and then you spend your summer at some big fancy. I went to Paul Hastings in LA and got wooed and dined and got paid a lot of money for the first time in my life. And, next thing you know, you're thinking, oh, this is the way to go. This is the approach. And the idea of being a plaintiff's lawyer didn't even occur to me.
Wow.
Until I had a breakdown in my third year of law school. I kind of had a crisis of faith. And I think that's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, actually.
Did you question everything? Like, did you question the fact that you're in law school, or what exactly you wanted to do when you came out of law school? Because I saw you were kicking ass even in law school. You were in the advocacy program.
Yeah, we did mock trial. I did mock trial, and it was the Barristers Council thing at Georgetown. And I was really, really good at it. I was really good at the trial stuff and thinking on my feet and connecting with people. I think that was really where I was excelled at. I'm pretty smart sometimes, but I'm also going to be an idiot like most people. But it was really that connection that I could create with people. And it's funny because what I was slated to do was to get into securities litigation. That's what I had spent my summer, at the big defense firm doing. And that's basically, rich people suing rich people about dollars on some security. I mean, it was as far from idealistic as it comes.
Yeah.
Securities law has its place in the world. I'm not trying to, talk ill of anyone who does that. But, it wasn't really the sort of meaningful, change the sort of world viewpoint that I kind of wanted to do. And I kind of had this breakdown in probably about February of my third year of law school. I realized I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be part of a machine just to make money. And I'd already put on some debt, I'd already, made these big decisions, and I realized it was very difficult to sort of pull away from that without destroying any semblance of a career. And so I kind of looked around, you know what I mean? I said, oh, what can I do? And I said, oh, I'll go clerk for a federal judge. That's a great sort of non-corporate law, but it gives me some time to figure out the heck I want to do. But the problem was, those things are decided years in advance. There's this application process where you apply, and I'm looking to start this job in 4 months. It's sort of late to the game. So I ended up going on to the portal the online portal to see what was available. And there was 2 judges at that time that were hiring. One was a federal judge in Kentucky, and the other one was a federal judge in Hawaii. And, I said,
Kentucky, Hawaii.
well, I mean, the likelihood of me getting those jobs was basically zero, right? I mean,
Wow.
these are very coveted positions. I'm late to the party. My grades weren't the best. They weren't that bad, but they weren't like, I wasn't a straight A student in law school by any measure. Mm-hmm. So I applied. And it's really funny. The Judge Gilmore in Hawaii, who I ended up working for a couple of years, I think I was the last person to send him an application. That's how late I was. I think it was due at midnight, and I sent it at 11:59, in 30 seconds kind of thing, just under the gun. And I think because of that, when her assistant printed out all the applications, mine was on the top, right? It was the last one in. And it's funny because Judge Gilmore had literally just booked a trip to Washington, D.C. for her judicial conference, which they have every 4 years in D.C. And she looks down, she sees my resume, and she says, "Oh, Georgetown, I'll be in D.C. What the heck? I'll interview him while I'm there." I mean, it's really like dumb luck. Okay, that's how she noticed my application. Probably in a stack of 3,000. I mean, we're talking about a very difficult position to get.
Wow.
But then it gets better, right? So she gets to DC. So she comes to my town. And when a federal judge in Hawaii wants to interview people, it's tricky because they want to interview a bunch of people, but they want to do it in person, but they're in Hawaii, right? You have to fly all the way out to Hawaii for an interview. That's a bit of a gamble, sort of a tension there. But she came out to DC. So it was the day before my graduation. She was there in April and she was at this hotel, and I get to the hotel lobby and she says, "All right, hey Brent, I'm sorry. My husband's going to get here in 15 minutes. We have a bunch of stuff we're doing. You got 15 minutes. Let's talk." And I'm like, "All right, I got 15 minutes to do this. Let's do it." Right. Mm-hmm. But again, fate and luck kind of landed in my lap again. Her husband's flight got delayed and he was 3 hours late. And so our 15-minute interview turned into a 2 and 3 hour interview. And we went to the bar, had a couple of drinks. Her husband showed up. I got to meet him. We bonded. We all became friends, and I got this job, which I had no business getting. It was crazy. I mean, there was a little bit more to it, but that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's what I know those moments.